Good afternoon. Today is Wednesday, May the 8th, 2024. The time now is 4:42 p.m. So it is official that Vladimir Putin of Russia has been inaugurated. So Putin was inaugurated on Tuesday. So then this means that he is officially the Russian president again, and he is going to be serving a 6-year term, which will end, I guess, based on the Russian system or the Russian constitution in 2030. So this is a very interesting development, because when you consider the fact that Putin is once again the Russian president, it is interesting, given the war in Ukraine, when the Russians invaded Ukraine, how fierce the Western leaders, came out, stating that they are going to try to, for example, Joe Biden stated that he is going to turn the Russian ruble into rubble. And leaders in the West stated explicitly, boldly, in public, that they want Putin out. And it is very interesting. I did said before that the statements that Western leaders were making, when Putin, Russia invaded Ukraine, it bears elements of superior complex, in the West. When you are talking as a leader of a country that another leader of another country should be ousted, or that leader should not be there, or that leader is crazy, it bears semblance, or it shows elements of a superior complex. You must feel that you are better than that particular leader to make such statement. And that's what Western leaders did. It's interesting how leaders all over the world, in the West, were calling Putin crazy, madman, butcher, or whatever. You do not do that, especially for a leader who is the leader of a country as Russia, that basically has the most amount of nuclear weapon, Now, doesn't matter what they say about Russian military. Russia's military is proving itself, and the truth is, whether we like it or not, NATO has not gotten involved in Ukraine and will not get involved in Ukraine. Yes, France is agitating, and Macron has been threatening to send French troops into Ukraine. And there are those who are stating that, that NATO could put into effect Article 5 of the NATO constitution or whatever, that, for example, if France was to go into Ukraine and Russia attacks France, the US, Britain, and the rest of NATO will come and get involved. I don't think that is necessarily going to be the case. I do feel like the West is right now scared, and the West is angry. The West does not want to go to war against Russia, in Ukraine, especially a war which Russia did not attack them. Yes, they want to destroy Russia, but go to war in Ukraine, go get themselves involved in a war that could potentially become an all-out war, a war that Russia did not attack them. That war is going to go bad for the West, because the truth is, nobody, no young man in the United States with sound mind, and I do believe in France, in Britain, wants to go to war to fight an enemy that possess a firepower that basically equal that of the West. Because in this case, the possibility of dying as a Western soldier fighting Russia is going to be 50-50. The possibility of dying as a result of Russian bullets, or killing a Russian from Western bullets, is 50-50. So no young man with sound mind wants to go to war in Ukraine. okay, wants to go to war to fight Russians, okay, in a war that Russia did not declare. Because when that war starts, in the age of social media, I do believe once young men and women begin to return to their country, their Western countries, in body bags, governments are going to be in big trouble. Now, in the case of Ukraine, you could begin to see people all over the West, in Western countries, asking, why are our children dying because of Ukraine? Or why are our boys being sent abroad to Europe to die because of politicians? So as much as we do have hawks in governments and in Western capitals and countries and cities, I do believe going to war against Russia, engaging in a war in which Russia did not attack first, is a bad thing for the West. And this is why the African saying, talk softly and carry a big stick, is very important. Because for the past 2 years, you have Western leaders and countries that have been insulting Vladimir Putin, calling him names such as crazy, butcher, madman, and all kinds of nonsense. Okay? Now we'll have to deal with him for another 6 years. Vladimir Putin has been in power since 2000. Okay? And he basically was in power for the remainder of Bill Clinton's administration. He was in power when Bush was in power for, 8 years. He was in power for Obama's 8 years. He was in power for Donald Trump's 4 years. And now he is going to be in power for Joe Biden's total 4 years, including the potential 4 years, next 4 years of Donald Trump. Honestly, I do believe Trump is in a better position of winning the next election. But once again, Putin is officially once again the president of Russia, and it is said that he is going to be, or as of now, the longest serving Russian leader since Catherine the Great and Joseph Stalin, who I think led Russia from 1924 to 1953 or so. So it is scary because right now you have France, Macron continue to make threats, and Russia is also making threats that if French troops come into Ukraine, we are going to see it as an affront against Russia. And I think it is going to be much scarier because Western countries are not going to capitulate. They want to continue to speak tough, okay, and to present the image of strength and power. And they will not want to admit defeat or admit fault, because now they will have to double up. But I think the fact that Putin is once again the president of Russia, the leader, if he win in Ukraine, if the Russians win in Ukraine, Russians are still going to be hunted. Russia as a country is still going to be hunted by the West. The West wants to destroy Russia. Now, I don't know how the future is going to be for Russia. And once again, I'm speaking based on a perspective that I have on global affairs, on international relations. But as I've said many times, what we are seeing in Russia is a system. Now, the West hope that it is about Vladimir Putin, but it is not. And if you look at how the West treats the rest of the world, it is often this or that president. For example, it is Vladimir Putin. It is Saddam Hussein. It is Xi Jinping or this or that person. But the truth is, with Russia and also in China, we are talking about a system. Even if Putin dies, okay, whether naturally or he is taken out, as Western leaders have been preaching, okay, whoever comes into power, it's not going to capitulate to the West. It's not going to just put Russia in a place for the West. And we are seeing, okay, especially the switch that happened in Russia between Vladimir Putin and Medvedev. Medvedev has been talking loudly. He is probably one of the leading hawks in Russia. He is saying things that Vladimir Putin cannot say. Okay? Whether Putin leaving the position, meaning that Medvedev could become the next leader or whatever, because he holds a very high position as well. Or whether we can talk about Lavrov, who is a skilled politician and a skilled diplomat. We are talking about a system in Russia of young people, okay? A system of people who were young, okay, when the Soviet Union collapsed, and they saw what the collapse of the Soviet Union did to their country, how it basically took Russia from a top position in global affairs to just an ordinary country. And the people went through all the anxieties of what the Soviet Union or the collapse of the Soviet Union did to Russia. These guys, whether we are talking about Lavrov, Medvedev, or whoever it is, these guys make up a system that the West has to deal with, okay? Until the West realizes it and accepts it, the West is going to continue to make mistakes and engage in foolishness that over time is going to backfire against the West. But once again, looking at the sources, okay, some of the articles, Western leaders and Western papers, okay, media platforms continues to throw insults or to take a shot at Vladimir Putin. Once again, now, Western leaders or countries did not send dignitaries to the inauguration, okay? France was the only country that said that it was going to send a dignitary to the swearing in of Vladimir Putin. The US, Canada, Britain, all of them did not, okay, send dignitary. Even the Ukrainian president weighed in on the inauguration in Russia. The statement that I read of Vladimir Zelensky stated something such as the war and the inauguration is a way that the Russian president is trying to present something that doesn't exist or whatever. I don't remember exactly what the word is. It's basically a statement that delegitimizes Vladimir Putin. Now, Ukraine is right to do that. Ukraine is at war with Russia. Vladimir Zelensky is at war with Vladimir Putin. Ukraine is at war with Russia. So we will accept and should accept or expect the, tit for tat, whatever, statement, okay, of insults or delegitimization. But one interesting thing I noticed is that among the dignitaries or attendees of the inauguration, Steven Seagal attended, and he is also being criticized, okay? He's called Putin lover or whatever, or Putin supporter. But this is a very interesting time in history. After throwing insults so long, Western leaders have no choice but to experience another 6 years of Vladimir Putin. So it is very interesting in terms of what is happening. Western countries are not going to capitulate. They are going to double down on their hatred of Vladimir Putin or on their effort to defeat Russia in Ukraine. But in doing that, we could see a prolonged war, and the aftermath of that is that the destruction, complete destruction of Ukraine, okay? Because Western countries do not want to right now or in the future give Russia or Vladimir Putin, especially after talking so much and doing so much, they do not want to give Vladimir Putin and Russia victory over them. And we have to be honest, okay? What is happening in Ukraine is nothing but a proxy war against Russia. Yes, the Ukrainians are fighting for what they believe was an unjust or an illegal attack of their country. That is their belief or their national perspective. Okay? Whether the situation that culminated into what was the war in Ukraine, the current war in Ukraine, or the invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Whether that is the case, the truth here is, for the West, the situation in Ukraine is nothing but a proxy war, an attempt to destroy or to defeat Russia, okay, and Vladimir Putin. So basically, the West is acting, I believe, on a policy, an agenda that the West has had for a long time. And the Ukrainian war, or the war in Ukraine currently, provides the West the opportunity to do so. However, the war currently is not going according to how the West envisions it. And it is going terribly for the West. Now, in terms of the situation in Ukraine and the fact that Vladimir Putin is once again the president of Russia and that he's going to be serving until 2030, let's assume that his health, okay, if he is unhealthy, if he is sick, doesn't get the best of him, let's assume that he is not quote unquote taken out as the West has been planning or propagating for the past 2 years. This means that the Western government, the Western leaders who may not be in power by 2030 or within the next year or 2 or 3 or 4 are going to be, they are going to see or experience, okay, if you will, a world, a future world, okay, in the next 6 years in which Vladimir Putin, the guy, the man, the president, the leader who they have tried to oust from power, continues to remain a very prominent figure in international or global politics, if you will. And Russia continues to remain a very strategic but significant country, okay, in geopolitics. But this is very interesting. In Africa, the old ones taught us to talk softly and carry big stick. The Western leaders have talked so much and they have done so much to Russia and Vladimir Putin. And now they have to live with them. This is one of those reality of the concept of Chinese face saving, okay? Now they have lost face, okay, with Russia and Vladimir Putin, but even with the world. Because the war in Ukraine, the policy or plans of the West, which they've propagated to the rest of the world, their ambition, hasn't gone exactly as initiated or as thought of. And Vladimir Putin has returned. So what do you do now? Do you say, okay, we lost, we are tired, let's make friends? Which in this case, the West is going to look foolish, which the West continues to look foolish currently, okay? Or continue the situation which could lead to the total destruction of Ukraine and possibly a war, an all-out war between Russia and the West, okay, Russia and NATO, which in itself could lead to a painful event for the rest of humanity. But I am going to end here. Thank you very much for watching The Echoing Voice. Peace.